kind of a perfect storm of motivations for all sorts of different people to go out and buy guns in 2020. Right. But it sounds to me like you mean like to have that sort of shift in something as polarizing, I guess, as gun ownership in the United States on a like societal scale, where you're seeing, right. I mean, 10 points in a country of 350 million people. That's a lot of people buying guns, right? For the first who hadn't previously owned them.
Yeah.
And that's the shocking thing, right? Is this change. You don't see that happen in such a quick period, I guess is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. And it's pretty steady, meaning we saw a pretty steady rise from the 2024 to, 2004. So I'm going back 20 years now. 2004 to 2023, pretty steady rise among Republicans, about 9% increase. Among independents, it kind of bumped around, but it's in the mid 40s. And then the other kind of main finding here is that after 20 years in the mid 30s of Democrats saying that they have a gun in the household, this one poll had 41% of Democrats saying that they have a gun in the household. So that's where a lot of the increase is coming from since 2019.
Right. Yeah. Huge increase among Democrats. And not, I do obviously want to put the caveats, as you mentioned earlier, that this is a single poll.
Yes.
So, not everybody can just draw concrete conclusions out of a single poll, but it is, I think, a well done poll that has a history to it. And you have these trends that you can look at and there's still takeaways you can have that are based in, in reality and not just guessing, I guess, or little firmer evidence here. But
and also we're doing this poll the same way every month for 20 years. I mean, obviously our methodology changes some to keep up with things like cell phones or whatever. But this is a very solid piece of research that is done very, very meticulously.
And right. So it's just one poll.
It matters.
It's just one poll, but it's apples to apples comparisons that we're doing inside of this one poll. Okay. That huge increase among Democrats also is interesting for another reason, which is the demographic drive of that. You're seeing, I think it was a 17-point increase in African Americans who obviously tend to self-identify as Democrats much more often. 17% increase from just 2019 in gun ownership among that group, right?
Correct. Yeah, they went from 24% to 41%. And sometimes, again, subgroups can change. When you have the Black voter population is very homogenous, meaning from poll to poll to poll, there are very, very good group to gauge, is something changing or are things, because they don't change that much. They're very reliable, I guess is the best way to put it. So like their politics are very reliable. Their economic attitudes are very reliable. These types of demographics are very reliable. They're 12 or 13% of our sample. But they're a very reliable group to look at trends among. And so this group, that change was, again, that was just an important finding. And then the other part of it was where some of these increases happened. So we like to look at the country based in broken out into different county types. And so we look at core urban counties. Those are the counties where like the 25 biggest cities exist. Then we look at the urban ring, which are the little counties, not little, but the counties that are around those large urban centers. And then we have a large swath of the country that's the outer burbs. So that's like 40% of the population lives in that place. And they are the places between the rural and the urban ring. And then you have the rural areas. This growth in gun ownership is happening not in the urban core. So while it's happening among African Americans and Democrats who index higher in the urban core, those people groups are not the people that are owning guns are outside the urban core. So it's African American and Democrats in urban ring, outer burbs, and where they exist in rural areas. Although rural areas are much wider and much more Republican.
Interesting.
But we still saw increases from 2019, because this isn't like isolated to Democrats and African Americans. In rural communities, in rural counties, the percent of gun ownership went from 62%, meaning 6 in 10 rural households have a gun, to 73. So they're increasing as well. Outer suburbs went from 52 to 59, so another 7-point increase. And then the urban ring went from 32 to 40, so an 8-point increase. But in the urban core, those big city counties, it only went from 37 to 40, which is really margin of error. I mean, and a lot of the stuff is in that margin, but it's notable that the groups with the largest increase are not the places where they're increasing, are not like where you consider them to index the highest, if that makes sense.